Welcome to Fast Pace, the new growth, leadership and management podcast featuring Josh Phegan and Dean Mackie. We wanted to peel back the layers on what happens in the world of fast-paced real estate agencies, from new leadership models to the management challenges we all face each day. This is about a new era in the estate agency sector. Rapid changes to business models, service lines, remuneration and growth present the greatest opportunities that we've ever seen. Sit back, get inspired, grow your skills and reimagine what's possible with Fast Pace. Every Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Josh Phegan Digital.
One of the great challenges in being a business person is actually being a business person and really actually understanding the margins that really exist in a business. It's really important when we go through a high inflation environment that we understand that ultimately costs are going up. And as a business leader, you've got to make sure that you not only manage the cost, but also too, that you manage the pricing of your services, what you actually charge in the lounge room, all of those things, to make sure that there's the appropriate margin, because if there's going to be less volume of transactions, you need to make sure that you're actually getting more on each transaction to be able to cover all the fixed costs and make the business really profitable. Dean, so some interesting things for agents that actually happen. We've got models in Australia where you get 100% of the fee. And then all of a sudden you receive a number of invoices for actually the provision of all the services to actually run your little sales business as a salesperson. And then in other businesses are in a situation that could be something like 50-50, where 50% goes to the business and 50% actually goes to the agent. Dean, I'm not so much here to debate the merits of each of those models. They probably all have a place. The interesting conversation is when an agent comes to you and says, hey, I used to write this number, but now I'm writing far less, so I actually want a higher split because I'm not getting as much as I used to. And business owners not understanding that when that actually happens, the contribution margin of what that salesperson is contributing to help to pay the fixed costs is substantially reduced, which means all of a sudden you could actually be running a very unprofitable business in a position to try to prop up one or two salespeople that you just might not be able to make any money on. Dean, it's a difficult thing for owners to make decisions on. What are your thoughts about that? Is it fair for an agent to come and have a discussion about fee splits and then have full autonomy in the lounge room about what they charge when it actually comes to the fee when they're sitting in front of a vendor? Tough questions, Dino. Let's see how we go on this one.
Oh, mate, look, I've got a philosophy that life, really, if you're in a relationship that's going to endure over time, it needs to be mutual benefit, right? So it can't be win-lose, because you're right. I actually have had a number of businesses approach Di Jones to say, hey, we'd like to join, and they seem to be nice people, but when I actually look at their business, I can actually see exactly what you just talked about.
Yeah.
They're actually not, they're a high-performing agent, gone out and started their own business, they've got a few salespeople, small rent roll, whatever. And, when you actually have a look at the numbers and you think, well, hold on, you're actually not even taking any comp split yourself. In fact, you're not even taking a wage, and in fact, you're actually putting money into the business just to keep the doors open. And it's because they haven't got some part of the equation right? They're either paying too much out the door, haven't got their costs under control, or they just don't have the volume or scale that they need for a modern day real estate business. Because what's happening in actuality, it's been happening for a long time. Look, I've been in this now for coming up to 20 years, and you sort of look at it and you go, we've certainly seen a march on cost. It's happened in every industry. We're not immune. Especially in the last few years in particular, right? There's the amount of money you got to pay on wages and people, because we're a people business, is quite substantial. If it's in property management or wherever it is in your business, it requires investment. And what's been an additional investment in the last number of years has been the requirement to invest in technology. And the amount of subscription fees that a business has to pay in the back end that an agent doesn't realise, that by the time you add them all up, the amount of money that's being paid out of business for every single person that's a user is phenomenal, from license fees for Microsoft or this, that, whatever. I don't think there's anything that people just take for granted. Oh, yeah, I can turn up and it all works, right? But there's a base cost of getting all of that together. And some businesses are running at 80%, 85% plus just to get their agents, the cost of sales, right? Then you've got to take out your overheads and this, that, and whatever. And when you actually get down to it, there's not a lot left on the table at the end of the day. So it gets quite tricky. And before you jump in, I think, to your point about fees, I mean, you have an agent be able to go out and then discount their fee to whatever level there is. So you've got increasing costs, technology back end, people costs, overheads, rent, whatever, and then you've got potentially agents competing and thinking if they don't demonstrate value, they've got to go out and discount their fee. So then the fee goes down. And then the third part that really affects it is then the split that agents expect these days, right? So to your point, if you're paying an agent anything above 65, 70%, and then you put all those additional things in, chances are you're probably not making anything. The business is not getting a return. And it's very difficult for a business to survive if it's not getting a return. So, and a business owner with all the risk and capital and everything else that's on the table should reserve the right to make some sort of return, right? So I think this conversation is about balance and understanding that, because I can tell you now, I've got agents who want the higher splits, but then expect everything else. They expect that we run really good quality meetings, that we provide excellent marketing, that we provide sales training, that we have sales coaches, that we have best in breed technology, and we're doing we're having great events, and the list goes on, right? And I've got to tell you, once you stack all that stuff together, unless you've got some scale or efficiency in your business, it's very difficult to provide that, And so I think, I agree with you. I'm not here to debate the merits of one way or another, but the cost of sales of an organisation these days has massively ramped up. When you add to the fact that we all know the OSR is pretty full on at the moment, right? Like, I don't know if they've just changed their rules again. Everyone who's listening to this should go and check out the OSR website. We've just been made aware of the fact that as a contractor, so we went to this contractor model, so agents could have a bit of a bigger split, right? And therefore there was a payroll tax benefit if they had their own employees and their own company, which all makes sense, right? So, but now the rules have changed such that an admin assistant in any way, shape or form no longer counts as an employee for a contractor. It has to be a licensed associate, right? And so that's another game changer. So and a lot of businesses, this is what a lot of agents don't realise, is that the OSRs come back to a lot of businesses when maybe they haven't necessarily been compliant, and there's people who've been hit with hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not even up to some bigger numbers than that, retrospectively after commissions have already been paid. Now, if that business doesn't have any money in its bank to pay that debt on behalf of the last 7 years, because they go back 7 years, right? That business goes out of business. That business goes broke, right? So how do you get a nice healthy balance, right, between what a business needs and then what the agent needs to deliver a great service?
So, Dean, let's talk about creatively solving the problem. So here's a couple of things that I've seen people do. It'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on some of these solutions. One, okay, great, we've got our fee schedule and what we're going to split for the agent, but that's commensurate on making sure that your average fee sits around an agreed figure.
Sure.
So as an example, let's say the agreed figure, let's say we're Metro Sydney and we're saying it's 2%. As long as your average fee sits in and around the 2%, a little bit of variance, but around the 2%, then your fee structure sits. If your fee drops to 1.6 or 1.7 or whatever it is, then there's a different fee structure that you're going to get. So that's about performance, isn't it, right?
Yeah, but then there are other brands out there that say we don't really care what your fee is, and we'll still give you the percentage. And then we've got this sort of scenario where the industry is driving itself in this downward spiral race to the bottom, and if you actually don't have scale to compete with that, or efficiency in the way that you run your business, or you're not generating enough leads for your team, then you're actually going to get caught out.
Yeah, and so then the conversation is that do you have an organisation filled with price sellers or value sellers? So value sellers is that, okay, great, fundamentally, what do we actually do in the business? How do we maximise sale price?
Very important distinction, Josh.
And so I was talking to Alex Phillips the other day, 269 listings for the year. And I said to him, okay, great, quick question about that. He said, out of all the 269, how many did you organise to get painted, get a renovation? And Alexander's response was 100% of them. So I know you've got your concierge business, but it's the same concept conversation, right? Is that now you've got to do more to actually be able to substantiate the fee that you're going to charge in the lounge room,
I was just chatting with one of my guys today, and he's just changed his process, because what he used to do was go in with his team and sort of explain the fact that they'll get it all coordinated, but then he would introduce a stylist who would then come in independent of him, right? And what he found was that the vendor was thinking, well, Trevor's just palmed me off, to this person and is no longer connected. So Trevor's like, well, actually, you know what? I need to bring that back in-house. So he's got a team that can manage it, but it's just the way he's positioning it with the vendor, right? So it's just little nuances to make sure that the vendor knows that you're actually providing value, and you're not because impressions can be, and I know Alexander Phillips, he's going to make sure that he gets in there and he goes, right, this is my team, here's what they're going to do, this person's going to take care of that, and the vendor feels like, okay, this guy's really got my interests at heart, he cares, he's looking after me, he's going to get me the best possible result. And that's your job, right? And it is your job to get the best possible result, but the vendor needs to feel that.
What's really important, understand your business model, know your margins, understand when things are changing, have open and direct conversations with your people around it. And it's quite funny, Dino, on a final note, whenever anyone rings me and goes, I'm going to go and talk to Dino and I want to get a higher split, what do you think? I usually say to them, well, best thing for you to do, go and talk to Dino about what it would take to buy in.
Yeah.
They go, what do you mean? I said, well, go and find out what it would take to buy in and what you get in terms of the return. And they will often come back from their principal and they go, mate, I'd never buy into that. There's no profit. I said, and now you want to take the last little bit that's left?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah, no, I probably shouldn't do that, should I? I said, I know how to earn more income than what's that average sale price volume and fee.
It's very interesting when you actually look at where the fee starts, and if it's a $30,000, $40,000 fee, and when you actually then look at net, right, what is actually retained, it's quite a small fraction of the overall amount. And I think in a lot of businesses it'd be less than 10%.